The moment everything changed did not come with a public ceremony, a royal announcement, or even a warning to the world. Instead, it happened quietly but with massive consequences inside the walls of the British monarchy. When Prince William took decisive action against Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, it marked one of the boldest and most controversial shifts in modern royal history. For years, both sisters had maintained a somewhat low-profile presence compared to senior members of the royal family, balancing private careers with occasional royal appearances. They were often seen as distant from major controversies, especially after the fallout surrounding their father, Prince Andrew. At the time, the public was told that Andrew's issues were his alone, and his daughters would not be punished for his mistakes. That narrative created a sense of separation, almost like a protective wall around Beatrice and Eugenie. But what has now emerged suggests that things were far more complicated behind the scenes. According to the storyline presented in your script, a series of investigations and internal reviews allegedly revealed deeper connections, raising serious concerns within the institution itself. This is where everything began to shift. William, who is often seen as a future king focused on modernization and accountability, reportedly decided that protecting the monarchy's future mattered more than preserving tradition or personal relationships. His approach appears to be rooted in a simple but powerful idea. The monarchy must survive by adapting, even if that means making painful decisions. The introduction of what is described as a new ethical framework, including strict financial transparency and accountability measures, became the turning point. When Beatrice and Eugenie allegedly refused to fully cooperate with these checks, it created a situation where their position within the royal structure could no longer be justified under the new rules. From William's perspective, this was not just about two individuals. It was about setting a precedent. If some members were allowed to operate without full transparency, it would weaken the entire system. The decision to strip them of titles, roles, and official recognition was therefore presented as a necessary step rather than a personal attack. However, the emotional and symbolic weight of that decision cannot be ignored. These were not distant relatives. They were family members who grew up within the institution. Removing them so completely sent a strong message to both the public and other royals. No one is untouchable anymore. The monarchy, as portrayed in this narrative, is no longer operating as a traditional family-first system, but as a structured institution where rules apply equally to everyone. This idea alone represents a massive cultural shift. It challenges centuries of royal tradition, where loyalty and bloodline often provided a level of protection. Now, according to the story, those protections are being replaced by strict accountability. For viewers and readers, this creates a powerful emotional conflict. On one hand, there is a sense of fairness. Why should anyone be above the rules? On the other hand, there is discomfort at seeing family ties broken so publicly and decisively. That tension is what makes the story so compelling. It is not just about what happened, but about what it represents. The end of one era and the beginning of another. The monarchy is being reshaped into something more controlled, more transparent, and arguably more distant from its human side. Whether that is seen as progress or loss depends entirely on perspective. Supporters of this approach might argue that it is the only way to ensure long-term survival in a modern world where public scrutiny is constant and unforgiving. Critics, however, might see it as cold and overly corporate, stripping away the very identity that made the monarchy unique. Regardless of where one stands, the impact of such a move is undeniable. It has forced people to rethink what the monarchy is supposed to be and who gets to be part of it. At the same time, this dramatic restructuring is not happening in isolation. It reflects a broader transformation in how the royal institution is being managed under the influence of Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales. Together, they are often portrayed as the architects of a new system, one that prioritizes efficiency, reputation, and long-term stability over tradition and emotional ties. In this new model, roles are not guaranteed by birth alone, but must be justified through conduct and contribution. This is where the idea of a slimmed-down monarchy evolves into something much more intense, a complete restructuring of how power and responsibility are distributed. The removal of Beatrice and Eugenie is not just a one-time action. It is part of a larger pattern of redefining the royal family's purpose. Other members are being repositioned, responsibilities are being reassigned, and the overall structure is becoming more streamlined. The concept of the frontline royals becomes central here, focusing attention on a smaller group that represents the monarchy in public life. This approach aims to create a clearer and more consistent image, reducing the risk of scandals and confusion. However, it also raises important questions. What happens to those who are removed from this structure? How do they adapt to life outside a system they were born into? And what does this mean for the future of the monarchy itself? The story suggests that these changes are necessary to protect the institution from further damage, especially in a world where public trust can be lost quickly. But it also highlights the human cost of such decisions. Behind every title and role is a person with relationships, history, and identity tied to that position. Stripping those away is not just a political act. It is a deeply personal one. This is why the narrative resonates so strongly with audiences. It combines elements of power, conflict, family drama, and transformation into a single storyline that feels both dramatic and relevant. The idea that the monarchy is willing to cut off parts of itself to survive is both shocking and fascinating. It challenges the traditional image of a stable, unchanging institution and replaces it with something more dynamic and unpredictable. As this story unfolds, it leaves viewers with a sense of uncertainty. Is this the right path forward, or is it a step too far? Will this new approach strengthen the monarchy, or will it create new divisions and challenges? These are the questions that keep people engaged and coming back for more. The situation is not presented as fully resolved. Instead, it feels like the beginning of a larger transformation, and that is what makes it powerful. It is not just about what has happened, but about what might happen next. The future of the monarchy, as depicted here, is still being written. Every decision, every action, and every reaction will shape what comes next. In the end, this story is not only about Beatrice and Eugenie, or even about William's leadership. It is about a system trying to redefine itself in a rapidly changing world. It is about the tension between tradition and progress, between loyalty and accountability, and between family and institution. And most importantly, it is about how far an institution is willing to go to protect its future, even if it means rewriting its own rules. What makes this situation even more intense is how it connects to a much larger shift happening inside the royal structure, one that goes far beyond just two individuals. The actions taken by Prince William signal a deeper strategy that appears to be focused on long-term survival rather than short-term stability. In the past, the monarchy often relied on quiet damage control, carefully managing scandals behind closed doors while maintaining a public image of unity. But this approach, as suggested in your script, is being replaced by something far more direct and visible. Instead of hiding problems, the institution is confronting them head-on, even if that means exposing internal conflicts to the public. This shift is not just strategic. It is philosophical. It suggests that the monarchy no longer believes it can rely solely on tradition and loyalty to maintain its position. Instead, it is embracing a model that resembles modern organizations, where transparency, accountability, and performance are key. This is where the influence of Catherine, Princess of Wales, becomes especially important. She is often portrayed as a stabilizing force, someone who understands both the public expectations and the internal challenges of the royal system. Together, she and William represent a new kind of leadership, one that blends tradition with modern thinking. In this context, the removal of Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie becomes more than just a disciplinary action. It becomes a symbol of this new direction. It shows that the monarchy is willing to take risks and make difficult choices to protect its future. However, this approach also carries significant risks of its own. By taking such strong and public action, the institution opens itself up to criticism and debate. Some people may see it as a necessary step toward reform, while others may view it as an overreach that damages the family's unity and tradition. This divide in public opinion is a key part of the story's impact. It keeps the conversation alive and ensures that the issue remains relevant. Another important aspect to consider is how these changes affect the overall image of the monarchy. For decades, the royal family has been seen as a symbol of continuity and stability, but actions like these introduce an element of unpredictability. They show that the institution is capable of rapid and dramatic change, which can be both reassuring and unsettling at the same time. On one hand, it demonstrates strength and adaptability. On the other hand, it raises questions about what might happen next. If such significant changes can happen now, what else could change in the future? This uncertainty adds another layer of intrigue to the story. It makes people wonder whether this is the beginning of a new era or just a temporary response to a specific situation. The idea of a restructured monarchy becomes central here. It suggests that the institution is not just reacting to events, but actively reshaping itself. This includes redefining roles, setting new standards, and creating a clearer sense of purpose. The focus shifts toward a smaller, more controlled group of individuals who represent the monarchy in public life. This approach aims to reduce complexity and minimize the risk of future controversies. But it also means that many traditional roles and positions may no longer exist in the same way. For those who are affected, this can be a difficult adjustment. It requires them to find new identities and paths outside the structure they have always known. From a storytelling perspective, this creates a powerful emotional element. It is not just about policies and decisions. It is about people dealing with change, loss, and uncertainty. This human side of the story is what makes it relatable and engaging. Viewers can connect with the idea of facing difficult choices and adapting to new circumstances, even if the setting is very different from their own lives. At the same time, the story continues to build tension by leaving many questions unanswered. What will happen to Beatrice and Eugenie in the long term? How will they respond to being removed from the royal structure? Will there be further changes affecting other members of the family? And most importantly, will this new approach succeed in strengthening the monarchy, or will it create new challenges that have yet to emerge? These open-ended questions are essential for maintaining audience interest. They create a sense of ongoing development, encouraging people to stay engaged and follow the story as it evolves. In many ways, this situation can be seen as a turning point, a moment that defines the future direction of the monarchy. It highlights the tension between preserving tradition and embracing change, between maintaining unity and enforcing accountability. These are not easy issues to resolve, and there are no simple answers. But that is exactly what makes the story so compelling. It reflects real-world challenges in a dramatic and highly visible setting. As the narrative continues, it becomes clear that this is not just about one decision or one moment. It is part of a larger process of transformation that will likely continue for years to come. The monarchy is being reshaped step by step, with each action contributing to a new vision of what it should be. Whether this vision ultimately succeeds or fails remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: the events described in your script represent a significant and memorable chapter in that journey. As this story continues to unfold, the focus naturally shifts from what has already happened to what it means for the future of the royal institution. The decisions taken by Prince William are not isolated actions. They are part of a broader vision that could redefine how the monarchy operates for generations to come. In this vision, the royal family is no longer simply a symbol of heritage and tradition, but a carefully managed institution that must constantly prove its value to the public. This is a major change in the past, where status and position were largely protected by history and legacy. Now, according to the direction suggested in your script, every role within the monarchy must be justified to behavior, responsibility, and public trust. This shift creates a new kind of pressure for those who remain within the system. Being a royal is no longer just about representing tradition.